Stoltenberg called on NATO countries to lift restriction on Ukraine military strikes using Western weapons on internationally recognized Russian territory. The next day, Polish Foreign Minister Sikorsky said, "The Americans told the Russians that if they use nuclear weapons, even if no one is killed, we will strike all your targets in Ukraine with conventional weapons. We will destroy them all." Then Ukraine attacked a strategic early warning radar station in Armavir. Russian Senator Dmitry Rogozin accused the United States of involvement in a drone strike on the radar station, which was confirmed by images of the damage online. The station in Armavir is part of Russia's nuclear deterrence forces, and an attack on it, according to the Russian military doctrine, is a reason for Moscow to use nuclear weapons. Rogozin wrote, "Of course we can assume that the strike, if it's not a fake by the Ukrainian armed forces, was carried out on Kiev's own initiative. However, given the Washington's deep involvement in this armed conflict, the version that the US does not know about Ukrainian plans to attack Russia's missile defense system can be discarded. Washington will have to respond in full." He added that we are not only standing on the threshold, but already on the edge beyond which the collapse of the strategic security of nuclear power will begin. Everything that the West planned is getting ruined. The unsuccessful attack of Russia at the beginning of the war in Ukraine gave hope to Western ultra-liberals to win the war and destroy Russia forever. However, now Ukraine is losing, and losing badly. The Russian economy exists and develops compared to the completely destroyed economy of Ukraine. But this is the least bad news for the West, especially for the USA. The American mass media admitted that the Russian army destroys American weapons in front of the entire world. Excalibur, HIMARS, and other high-precision Western weapons are no longer effective at the front. The Washington Post reports that the accuracy of the number of types of Western weapons in Ukraine has decreased by 10 times due to the work of Russian electronic warfare. After a sharp drop in their effectiveness, the Ukrainian armed forces stopped using certain types of Western weapons. For the West, it is difficult to explain to the world how come that after so many embargoes and so much support for Ukraine, Russia not only exists, but also develops its own economy with an army. Yes, Russia faces challenges regarding the economy, but many challenges have passed. Famous American weapons became useless. Many rockets didn't hit the target. There is not so much ammunition left, and the Abrams tank getting burned is a normal thing in Ukraine. What happened to all Western propaganda which was lying and hypnotizing about the bad situation in Russia? The situation is so dire for Western propaganda that they are resorting to fabricating news that should concern the West rather than cause laughter. Russian army generals who faced ridicule from the Western media after a failed attack in the beginning are now again a target of humiliation. The Russian army has become stronger, which the Western media had to admit. The recent change in the head of the Russian military defense should be concerning because Putin has shown that he is willing to remove those who do not perform effectively. Currently, the Russian military defense is going through many corruption cases, with many positions lost due to corruption. How does the West portray these events? They laugh at the perceived weakness. However, the most worrying event for the West, especially the USA, is the Russian offensive in Kharkiv region. After Russia took lands in 2 weeks more than the Ukrainian counteroffensive achieved in 3 months in December, Blinken arrived in Ukraine urgently. He demanded that Zelensky stop the Russian offensive and change his peace agreement demands. Everyone has seen how Zelensky has stolen billions of dollars given to him by the West. Russians simply entered the Ukrainian territory without any resistance. After this event, Western propaganda suddenly started talking about Putin wanting peace, and Western politicians began discussing allowing Ukraine to strike Russian territory. This is a warning to Russia. Accept the peace agreement or we'll allow the strikes on Russia. Russia responded with nuclear strategic weapon training, on which the Western politicians started allowing Ukraine to strike Russian territory. The American elite does not back down because they fear that the upcoming loss of Ukraine will show that the USA is no longer a hegemon. Israel's disobedience, Americans' weapons failure in Ukraine, and non-working embargoes are proof that the USA is no longer capable of controlling the world. The last help from the West could be sending troops to Ukraine. In this case, Russia might use nuclear weapons, which Western governments won't be able to explain to their own people why they send their soldiers. But if the West triggers Russia to use nuclear weapons, similar to how it triggered Russia to attack Ukraine, then the Western propaganda machine will be able to explain to its own people. Look, crazy Putin used a nuclear weapon, so we had to send troops. NATO and Russia are on the edge of a nuclear war. If any conflict between Russia and NATO starts, Zelensky will be happy because it means he saved himself. the nuclear strike would erase all memory of his corruption and failures during the war.